Varna Swarupe Rama. The word Rama is used to designate a single Varna. Uh, okay. When only the Varna itself is to be expressed, the word Rama should be added. This is because Rama is famous for accepting only one wife. Examples are a Rama, e Rama, and so on. So when we address or when we say out a single varna, a single letter from the Sanskrit alphabet, so we say that single letter along with the word Rama. So it's a Rama, e Rama, u Rama, or ka Rama, cha Rama, ta Rama, ityadi. Panini called these at, it, and so forth. So in the Panini system, they would say at, it. So at would mean the letter a, it would mean the letter e, and like that. In the Kalapa grammar, also called Katantra, they are called akara and so on. So this is quite famous. Uh, akara, ikara, kakara. So, but in Harinamamrit Vyakaranam, we'll use the word Rama. So it's a Rama, e Rama, ityadi. We
Prabhu, one question, because it says the word Rama is used to designate a single Varna. Where in this sutra, what word means express? I mean, Svarupe means what in this case?
Varna, so when expressing a Varna itself, Swarupa means, uh, let's say, identity. Swarupa is
Ah,
identity. So,
okay, okay.
yeah,
Now I get it.
so like that, Prabhu. Okay.
Yeah.
So we call the consonants Karama and so on, but earlier grammarians called them Kakara and so forth. So same thing, we just add Rama after each letter. And they called Ra Rama Rev. So Ra Rama in other grammars, they call it Rev, Rape, Rape Kar, but we call it Ra Rama. So that's all. So now on, whenever we have to address or take a name of a single letter, then we'll say with the word Rama. So Arama ityadi. Tadadi dvaye dvayam. The word dvaya is used to designate the pair of varnas beginning with the varna that is mentioned. Okay. When oh when a pair of varnas oh, when a pair of varnas beginning with the varna it mentioned is to be expressed, pair of varnas refer to the ekatmakas. A is a pair, e is another pair, u r r a I o. So they are all pairs. So when a pair of varnas beginning with the varna mentioned is to be expressed. So now if we have to express, let's say, the first pair, which is a, the Vamana a and the Trivikrama a, then the word dvaya is added with the first varna of that pair. So it will become advaya. So when we say advaya, it means the Vamana a and the Trivikrama a. Similarly, when we say idvaya, it means e and e. Udvaya, u and u. Ridvaya, ri. Ridvaya, ri. Edvaya, a, I. Odvaya, o and o. So this dvaya concept only takes place in the Sarveshwaras, not in the Vishnu Janas. The word Dvaya is a name of the Lord because it indicates Lakshmi Narayana. The proof is that in Padma Purana, their mantra is called the Dvaya mantra. So Jiva Goswami is substantiating his point of using the term Dvaya which is based upon the Harinama, uh, the name of the Lord. So now, so when we say Advaya, then it would mean both a and a, and so on. Adesho Virinchihi. Now, these are these will be three karyas. Karya means uh, effect. We'll just study this in the next chapter, Sandhi. So,
Prabhu, one question. In these sutras, we find Adesho Virinchi, and in the translation, we see substitution is called Virinchi. So to get a little bit more sense of grammar, what is like the word is called? How is it expressed in Sanskrit? How do you know that it's saying that? Like, because
uh,
I might read it and say Adesho Virinchi. So how do I know that it is called? Where can I find this sense of it
so
is?
this sense is developed in the fourth chapter of grammar, which is Karaka. Means now
Uh-huh.
we are studying the first chapter, which is Sangya and Sandhi. Then second chapter will deal with the nouns. The third chapter will deal with the verbs. Then the fourth chapter will deal with the vibhaktis, the cases, the subject,
Acha.
the object, the instrument, ablative, dative, locative, and so on, possessive. So in the fourth chapter, we'll develop a sense of how this visarga means is called, all these things. So
Uh-huh.
that's called karaka in Sanskrit.
Karaka.
Yeah, karaka in Sanskrit.
Indicator, no?
Yeah, we can say like that, indicator.
Like in Jyotish also.
I don't know what Jyotish, but yeah.
Jyotish Veda. Jyotish Veda.
Okay. So like that, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Substitution is called Virinchi, just as Lord Brahma is called Virinchi because he takes one thing and makes another. A rule that acts in the same way is also called Adesha or Virinchi. So when we study Sandhi, this sutra will be very much clear, and that will be next Saturday. It's like not so far. So
It's interesting that in these sutras, this indicates that Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. Like people think of him as the creator, making something, but actually he's just transforming things. And then then in the next sutra we have the actual creator.
yeah, actually, this is a new insight even for me. Thank you for that. So he takes one thing and makes it into something else, combines them or manipulates them, right? So Adesha Virinchi, substitution is called Virinchi. The next sutra is Agama Vishnu. Agama means insertion. Then insertion is called Vishnu. Just as Lord Vishnu appears of his own accord in the middle and becomes a sustainer, a rule that acts in the same way is also called Agama or Vishnu. Again, when we do Sandhi, this rule will be very much clear that how and what is the use, practical use of this Agama Vishnu. So it's a theory basically right now. So insertion is when we bring a new letter in between, a new pratyaya suffix in between, in order to solve, in order to decline the final form out of either noun or verbs. So that is Agamo Vishnu. The third one is Lopo Haraha. Lopa means deletion. Hara is a name of Lord Shiva. So deletion is called Hara. Just as Hara, Lord Shiva, is the cause of destruction, we know that. A rule that acts in the same way is also called Lopa or Hara. In that regard, so first of all, when there is a deletion of a particular letter, of a particular part of the word or the word fully itself, then that deletion is known as hara or lopa in Sanskrit. That too also we'll see in the chapters ahead. In that regard, there are two types of deletions, hara. The first one is That which causes a mere disappearance is called hara, and that which causes a permanent dissolution is called mahahara. Others call the mahahara the look. So others, they say mahahara as look. So one thing is hara, one is mahahara. When it's hara, it's just disappearance of that particular object in front from front of our eyes, but it's existing somewhere else. But when it's mahahara, then that object is permanently dissolved. There is no existence left of that object.
Prabhu, would you be giving examples to about this?
Yeah, means an example for hara and a mahahara would be
Yes, Prabhu.
mm, like now in India, it's like evening, so the Surya is not here. You know, the Surya is with all of you, maybe with wherever it may be. So it's hara from it's disappeared from India, but its existence is still there. It's still continues to exist. So that is hara. It's somewhere else, but not in front of me. Mahahara is something, let's say, the Surya is no more anywhere. It just, you know, I'm just giving a rough example. Mahahara, no existence at
No,
all.
that concept I understood though, but yeah, and how does it apply in words?
I mean,
So
that's
that
why
if you
I'm again
can,
and again saying the same thing that the next Saturday when we start Sandhi, so in that Sandhi, we'll see the practical usage of Agama, Adesha, and Lopa. I can give it
yes,
now
sure.
also, maybe if you want to understand. Let's see.
No, it's okay, Prabhuji. If you want, you
Means
can
I
give.
don't mind again. Let's try to do something. Mm, okay, I have done something here. It's Sandhi, right? Oh, this is test. Okay, it's here now. So agama is insertion. So let's say if we have two words, sun and avyay. So by a particular sandhi rule, what happens is this na, additional na is inserted, and then we get san navyaya, double na. So this is like an insertion of an extra letter. Again, in like Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, Swaminiti Namini. So this na is also inserted because of a special sutra. So this is an example of insertion for the time being. Second is adesha, which is substitution or replacement of either one letter or both of them. So when we have parama, yukta, ananda, so we replace or substitute both of these letters, the Vamana A and the Trivikrama A, with a single Trivikrama A. This is known as Adesha. In this example, Yadi Yukta Api, A remains same, but there is replacement of E with the letter Y. So this is an example of replacement of one letter. So E becomes here, so it's Yadyapi. And here it was an example of replacement of both of the letters. And example of lopa or deletion is Arjunaha Uvacha. So this Visarga gets deleted by a particular rule in Sandhi, and then there is deletion of Visarga, Vishnu Sarga. So the remaining is Arjuna Uvacha, which we see in Bhagavad Gita, and so on. So these were few examples for Agama, Adesha, and Lopa. So is that okay, Prabhu, for the time being?
Yes. Yes.
Can you wait 1 second? I'm copying that.
Yes, I can even share it in the group or in the chat. Oops. I've shared in the chat box, Prabhu. Even like
Okay.
so. So this is Lopa. Moving ahead, I think this is the last one. Sutrani Shadvidhani. There are 6 kinds of sutras. So Harinamamrit Vyakaran is composed of sutras. Sutras can be translated as formulas, let's say, or maxims. So there are 6 kinds of sutras. So what are they? Sangya cha paribhasha cha vidhir niyama eva cha atideshodhikarascha shadvidham sutra lakshanam iti. The 6 kinds of sutras are Sangya, Paribhasha, Vidhi, Niyama, Atidesha, and Adhikara. So we'll get to know what all of these definition mean. A Sangya Sutra creates a name. Atra Namakaranam Sangya. So the one we are reading now is Sangya Prakaran, right? So Sangya refers to Namkaran. Namkaran refers to like defining. We define something. So here we are defining many things, defining various groups, defining various things like Rama, like Dvaya, Ekatmakas, and so on. So this is Namkarana, defining an object, defining something. For example, sutras like Tatradau Chaturdasha Sarveshwaraha are Sangya sutras because we are defining the 14 letters as Sarveshwara. So that is Sangya sutras. The other kinds of sutras will be explained later. So Paribhasha, Vidhi, Niyama, Atidesha, and Adhikara, they will be defined and explained later. Some uh, list the Pratishedha Sutra instead of Atidesha Sutra. So in the verse, in the shloka here, it's Atidesha, right? The 5th one. But in some of the editions, the word Atidesha, or in some of the Pathantaras, rather, they prefer Pratishedha, the word Pratishedha in place of Atidesha. And Pratishedha means prohibitive sutra, which prohibits something to be applied. So Atidesha Sutra means a sutra that ordains similarly to something previously mentioned. So this we'll study when it comes. Thus ends the Sangya section. So Matsyavatara Prabhu has, kindly given the 6 definitions. We can just go through it. Namakaranam Sangya. A Sangya Sutra creates a name. A Niyame Niyamakarini Paribhasha, the second one. A Paribhasha Sutra creates a regulation where there weren't any. Now, example for these will be covered when these definitions will come up. Now, for easy understanding and for the satisfaction of our intellect, Matsyavatara Prabhu has kindly given it, but they are more nicely understood when they are understood with an example, which will come ahead. Kartavya Tvenopadesho Vidhi. A Vidhi Sutra is an injunction that has to be followed. Bahutra Praptau Sankochanam Niyamaha. A Niyama Sutra is a restriction where a rule would otherwise apply to many things. Anya Tulyatva Vidhanam Atidesha. An Atidesha Sutra ordains similarity to something previously mentioned. Uttara Prakarana Vyapya Adhikaraha. An Adhikara Sutra provides the following section. So, So thus we complete the Sangya Prakaranam, which is the portion of the first chapter, because Sangya and Sandhi, they both together are first chapter. So I hope it was clear till now. And is it okay till now? Anything to be discussed?
No problem.
No.
I think this is the easiest of the sections, right?
Can you please repeat, Prabhu?
I think this might be the easiest chapter compared to what is going to come.
Yes, it is.
So it is quite clear.
So we'll just do the Mangalacharan of Sandhi Prakaran, so that the next time we just start off with the practicals. Yadidam Sandhi Nirmanam Varnanam Muda Tena me Krishna Padabje Manah Sandhir Vidhiyatam. With great joy, this is Jiva Goswami Uvacha. With great joy, I begin making the sandhi of the varnas. Now, sandhi refers to combination. So, with great joy, I begin making the sandhi of the varnas. So, in this case, so sandhi was when we had a and a, and we combined them and replaced them with one letter. So this is sandhi. We're combining. We're combining. O Krishna, may this cause the sandhi of my mind with your lotus feet. May my mind combine or be attached to your lotus feet. So yes, this is the meaning. सर्व प्रकरण व्यापी वर्ण मात्र निमित्तकः वारणो विकारः संधि स्यात् विषयापेक्षकः क्वचित्. This is sandhi pervades all the prakaranas. So sandhi, it's not that only in second chapter or in this chapter only sandhi happens. In all the chapters, whether it will be nouns, verbs, karaka, kridanta, samasa, tadhita, any chapter, sandhi happens everywhere. So that's why the rules of sandhi should also be very much clear, so that there is no difficulty even after we move ahead. Basically, in Sanskrit grammar, everything applies everywhere. Everything applies everywhere. Tadhita applies somewhere else. Samasa. When we move ahead, okay, let me discuss something. It's very interesting. So this is a dhatu, which is prith, right? Now we apply some kridanta, what do you say, pratyaya suffix, and now this becomes, let's say, kridanta suffixes are known as krit pratyayas. So I will write krit suffix. So what will happen then? Prith will become pritha, right? Now pritha, now this will go to the noun chapter, and then we'll apply the noun suffixes. So for example, yeah, suffixes are the pratyas. So for example, if we apply the very first one, which is su, so then what happens is the form remains as pritha by some application. Now again, pritha will go to tadhit prakaran, and we apply some, we apply some tadhit pratyas. Now the form will be Partha.
Which ones are the Tadhita Pratyayas?
That's the last chapter. So means each chapter has got a set of pratyas. So,
For
so when we,
example,
I'm
one
sorry,
what-
what is that, Prabhu?
yeah, like any example, one Tadhita Pratyaya would be like
Ah,
Anu.
So you this is just guna and vriddhi, right?
yeah, but that's happening because we applied some tadhita pratyay there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it's a na pratyay there. So now it's Partha, and now Partha, we can do Partha, bring Partha in Samasa. Let's say we bring Partha in Samasa and we say Parthasya Chapah. Then,
Samasa means words compound, right?
yes, compounds. So it becomes Partha Chapa or something like that. So my point of mentioning all this is everything of grammar applies everywhere. So it's not that we finish second chapter, we move to third. So second chapter is no more applicable. Everything is applied everywhere. So we have to be attentive, all throughout. And it's really amazing. It's like a mathematics and a lot of brainstorming, and it's really good and enlightening. So
Okay, thank you.
When I first started studying Sanskrit formally, I felt it was like algebra, so I liked it.
So Sandhi pervades all the prakaranas, that what I meant. It is the transformation of varna. Transformation is vikara. There is vikara. So when we had Parama Ananda, so it was transformation of the Vamana and the Trivikrama A. That is Sandhi. And is only caused by a varna. So the cause of Sandhi is also a varna. If let's say there is no Trivikrama A ahead of this, so that particular transformation will not take place. So there has to be some nimittas, some causes, and next time we'll know what are those causes. Purva nimitta, paranimitta, ityadi. Sometimes Sandhi depends on a particular Vishaya, sphere of application. So sometimes there is a particular, means particular, how to say that, Vishaya apekshaka kvachit. Sometimes there is a particular necessity created so that that Sandhi could be applied. So, so we'll deal with this uh, in the next class. So that was it for today, and we covered the first Sangya Prakaran, and from next onwards we'll begin the Sandhis. So please memorize the sutras and keep them intact and fresh in your fertile brains. Okay, so if there is no question or discussion in the grammar part, we'll jump to Anvayas.
I have a lot of questions, but
Means
I see.
regarding the discussion we have, you can ask. Means it's open. Means the Harinama Vyakaran stuff.
Yeah, like in this sense, I see that there are some methodologies and like you have some specific time for each topic. So I think that my questions I will not
Oh, yeah,
come.
yeah. Then maybe means what happens is the discussion becomes a little predictable for those who have not studied that topic. So so that's why I just try to drop such topics. But if you have any topic related to what we have studied, most welcome, Prabhu.
Yeah, I will think about it. Maybe it's a couple of okay, maybe these Sunday rules. Do you have a word there? Can you share it in the group?
Which one, Prabhu?
this PDF, this Word you have there,
This
which
one?
yeah, what does it have? It has some more rules of Sandy because I would like to study them more closely.
I mean, I prepared it for some class here, like some class I give, and it's based upon Harinamamrit Vyakaran. So anyhow, we'll be dealing with it. So
Yeah, if you could share that, I'd be very glad to read it and to to analyze it technically.
I'll send Prabhu, no problem.
And okay, thank you.
The third shloka, Nigamakalpataror Galitam Phalam Shukamukhadamrita Sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. Okay. Aho. Aho is an avyay. Avyay is something, is a word which is not declined and it remains the same, all throughout. So na vyaya yasmin saha avyay. So in which there is no vyaya, there is no vikara, there is no transformation at any point, that is avyay. Okay. So aho is an avyay, indeclinable, which is used to address someone. Aho, aho. It is also used in the sense of astonishment, like in 10th canto they have that verse, the famous one, aho bhagyam, if nanda gopa vrajauka saha ityadi, yanmitram paramanandam purnam brahma sanatanam. So in that case, it's vocative, but it's also like, astonishment. Oh, what a great fortune you all have, the Vrajvasis. So like that. So aho. So aho means hey. Hey is also like vocative. Oh in English. Rasikaha. Rasikaha means the Rasika devotees. How do you translate Rasika in English?
There is no specific
Means
word.
like tasteful, elegant.
I think this definition is itself not Rasika. There's no English word.
Prabhupada translates rasa as mellow.
But how do you translate Rasika now? Like anything closer?
Juicy.
Anything closer? Like I know means many words they cannot be translated as it is, but anything closer to it.
Juicy, but not in juicy in the juice of relationship.
Juicy. Uh, Prabhupada says those who are full in knowledge of mellows. So it has to be explained. There is no one word translation for that. So Bhagavad Priti Rasagnaha. So Prabhupada says here, those who are full in knowledge of mellows. Gya means, Gya means to know, Janati. Rasa means the mellow. Priti means, Bhagavad Priti means the love of Godhead. So those devotees who are well acquainted with the signs of various mellows, beginning, various mellows consisting of Sakhya, Dasya, Vatsalya, Ityadi, and the seven secondary, which pertains to the love of Godhead. So that is Bhagavat Priti, love of Godhead. Rasa, mellows. Gya means those who know, right? Rasikaha. Bhavukaha. This is very interesting. I really like the explanation of Bhavuka here. Rasa Vishesha Bhavana Chaturaha Bhakta. Those devotees, Bhakta, who are Chatur. Chatur in Hindi, in English, like clever. But here, clever won't work. Here, I'll say clever is not good. Chatura means expert or yeah, knowledgeable, expert. So those devotees who are knowing or yes, knowing the rasa vishesh bhavana. Rasa vishesh, see now the devotees they don't get into all the rasas. Like, of course, it's a mature discussion, but theoretically we can have it. So the devotees, when they enter into, enter deeply into spirituality, so they prefer, their inclination is into one of the rasas which are there. So that is rasa vishesha, a particular rasa, an exclusive rasa. Either it may be dasya, shanta, sakhya, vatsalya, or madhurya. So his consciousness is always overwhelmed by that feeling of that particular rasa. For example, if someone is relishing, is experiencing the vatsalya rasa, so he's always, his consciousness, his mind, his brain, his heart, everything is always overwhelmed by the feeling that I am Krishna's mother, that I am Krishna's father. So that is rasa vishesh bhavana chaturaha bhakta. That bhakta is known as bhavuk. Generally, when we say bhavuk, it means sentimental. But what sort of sentiments? The sentiments which have aroused from the relationship which a devotee has, the particular relationship which a devotee has toward Krishna.
And bhavan means in this case?
Bhavana means, the chetana, the consciousness, the feeling, the sentiment. So many synonyms: feeling, sentiment, consciousness.
Okay.
Right? So that is bhavuka. So it's an address to those devotees, those highly elevated devotees who have established, or means, first of all, who are expert in Bhagavad Priti Rasagnya, and second, they are relishing and experiencing that rasa. It's not just theoretically; it's also an experience. So Shuka Mukhat. Shuka Mukhat is from the mouth of Shukdev Goswami. Vyas Shishya Adi Paramparya Kramena. Beginning from the disciple of Vyasa. Who was disciple of Vyasadeva?
Shuka.
Shukadev.
Shukadev. So Shuka Mukhat, so Vyasa Shishya. So from the mouth of Shukadev Goswami, it is explained as through the disciplic succession, in that sequence, Paramparya Kramena, the sequence of the disciplic succession, which begins from the disciple of Vyasadeva. And
Adi means which
and
begins.
Adi means and so on. Shukdev Goswami, who was disciple of Vyasadeva, then Shukdev Goswami gave to someone else, like that, Adi.
And so on. But it also means origin, right?
Yes, Adi also can mean origin. Adi Madhya Avasaneshu. Yesterday we read that.
Yeah.
So Bhuvi means on earth. Prithivyam, the same thing, on earth. Galitam. Galitam is like, literally it would mean perishable. In Hindi we say galna. I don't know in any other language, Bangla or something. Galna. Gal gaya.
Kritika means on
So
earth.
krama here means that it descended in stages. Sorry, that was the previous one.
Krama means paramparya kramena. A teacher would go, deliver it to the student. Then the student will become a teacher. Then he would give it to his student. In that sense.
Okay, so generation by generation.
Generation. It's not that first canto, then second canto. Not in that sense. So
You could say it's through parampara system, kramena. No?
yeah, through parampara system. Yes, kramena. And when we say parampara, then it automatically implies, generation after generation of guru shishya, guru shishya, guru shishya. So
Acha.
Galitam is perishable literally.
My question was Prithivyam. Prithivyam means on earth.
Yes, yes.
Acha.
Bhuvi Prithivyam, same on earth.
So does it mean Rasika, Bhavuka, or Bhuvi?
What is it?
Rasikas and Bhavukas on earth. Does it?
Please.
No, does it mean Rasikas and Bhavukas on earth? Like that?
No. Means let me complete this first, then I'll connect it, the whole thing.
Okay, yes.
Yes. So interesting thing is that means the Brahmand, the universe is so big, but our Prithvi is so fortunate. The essence fell on our Earth planet, and fortunately we are here on Earth. So anyhow, Galitam, Akhandam eva avatirnam. Khanda means which is something which is broken. Khanda. But when we say akhandam, it means something which is not broken, unbroken. So generally, okay, so akhandam eva means it is certainly unbroken, and avatirnam means Srimad Bhagavatam has descended avatirnam because it's equivalent to Krishna. So Krishna descends. Similarly, Bhagavatam descended avatirnam.
From Avatara.
Yeah, from avatara, avatirnam.
And Tirnam, this specific declination.
No, avatirnam is one word, avatirnam.
Acha.
Yeah.
And Galitam means?
Galitam means, literally it would mean perishable, it's perished. But
Yeah.
here Galitam means, which came
Top
down.
to down, is it? Which came from top to down.
Yeah, something which came down, which dropped off. Literally it would mean Galitam, But
Which came down. Also,
yeah,
Galitam means perishable.
Literally, I'm saying literally.
Yeah. I get it.
So, swechaya patitam, swa ichhaya patitam, na tu balat patitam paripakvatvat. So this Srimad Bhagavatam has come down, has descended on earth by his own will, by its own will. Swa ichhaya means its own will. And patita means it has come down. Na tu balat. It has not descended because of someone's force. Someone forced Bhagavatam. It's like someone gave a push to Bhagavatam from spiritual planet. and Bhagavatam came down. Oh, I was there. How come I am here? No, not to balat, but by its own will. That is paripakvatvat. Patitam means, it's not.
What is tu?
Tu is but. But or
And
however.
Balat is force, right?
Yeah, forced. Forced. Patitam is caused to fall.
Yeah, this termination at is past, right?
Which one?
At, balat.
It's ablative, by force.
Acha.
Mm-hmm. This is. Yes. So patitam is, it is not caused to fall forcefully. Patitam is caused to fall. Paripakvatvat refers to because it was ripened. Paripakva, we say paripakva, the fruit is paripakva, so ripened. So it shows the ripened stage of Srimad Bhagavatam, that not ripened stage of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is always ripened, but Srimad Bhagavatam is ripened and it fell down on its own accord. That is the point.
Not that someone went and picked it from the tree.
Yeah, see, one thing is, one contrast is, like here on the planet Earth at least, when there is a fruit on a tree, the branch. So there are two cases. First case is when the fruit is not yet fully ripened. So then someone goes, climbs up the tree and picks the fruit from there. But when the fruit get ripened, then automatically, it fell down, it falls down. But in this case, uh, the the fruit is ripened, it's on the tree, but because Shukra is there, the parrot is there, Shukdeva Goswami, so he has eaten it, and then he gave it to his disciple. So it's like in a sequence, it's coming. It didn't just fall down like that and broke like the normal ripened fruits do break.
And paripa means ripened or paripak.
Yeah, ripened.
And then tvat.
One word, paripakvatvat.
Acha.
So
The tva is ness, so ripeness, and then paripakvatvat is the ablative, so because of ripeness.
literally it would mean
Thank you, Mataji.
because of the ripeness of of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Acha, so tva is nes and at is because of or by.
Yes.
Well, these are all just suffixes that we'll learn later, I guess.
Yeah, but that's a fascination for these suffixes. I think it's very interesting.
Okay, moving ahead is Amrita Drava Sanyutam. Amrita refers to nectar. Drava is like a substance. We say dravya. So drava refers to a substance. Sanyutam means attached with, sanyutam, sanyukta. Sanyukta means attached to or attached with. So what is Amrita? Amrita refers to Parama Ananda. Amrita refers to Parama Ananda, the supreme bliss. Sa eva dravaha. That Parama Ananda is the substance, is the only substance. Saha, this Paramananda, eva, certainly, the only, drava, the substance. And that is rasa. So basically, Amrita is the rasa, which is supreme bliss only. Tena Sanyuktam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is attached with such rasa, which is only Paramananda and nothing else.
What is tena?
By rasa. By or with rasa. Attached with rasa. Idam Nigama Kalpataroho. Idam Nigama Kalpataroho. Idam refers to Bhagavatam. Idam refers to this Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigama.
One more question. Sorry. Sa, this, eva, certainly, drava, substance, rasa, is rasa, tena, by rasa, samyuktam, attached. So it's attached to rasa, or it's this substance, it's certainly, this samyuktam, I don't get it. How is it into the whole sentence?
Tena would be with rasa. By rasa is not sounding good. With
Acha,
rasa.
to-
With rasa would be good.
With rasa.
Yeah. Attached with rasa, Attached
Yeah, now I get the feeling. Okay.
Okay. Idam refers to this Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigama Kalpatarohu. Is everyone following?
Yes.
Yes.
So, Nigama Kalpatarohu. Nigama refers to Veda. Nigama refers to the Vedas. And Sa Eva Kalpaturu. That Veda is the desire tree. Sa, that Veda, Eva, certainly. Kalpataru is the desire tree. Kalpa refers to the desires, the Kalpana, the Vasanas. Taru refers to tree. So Kalpataru as a whole refers to the desired tree. Okay, and why is it is desired tree? Because sarva purushartha upayatvat tasya veda kalpadrumasya. Because this veda kalpadruma, this kalpadruma of veda, this desired tree of the Vedas offers upayas. Upayas in English would be offers methods by which we can attain all the purusharthas. The purushartha refers to dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, right? So this desire tree of the Vedas offers the upayas, the methodologies, the methods, the processes, the prakriyas by which we can attain all the purusharthas. Purusharthas in English, how would you say,
Where's
translate?
the word upaya?
The four goals of life.
The four goals of life, right?
Well, actually, it's all five goals, but anyway.
Means here it's like sarva purushartha. So
The word upaya, where is it? I didn't find.
yeah, it's hidden somewhere. Upaya.
Upaya means the method.
Yeah, upaya, the method, the process, prakriya, and so on.
Okay, so Sarva Purusha, it would be the whole processes, including Pancha Purushartha. Huh?
Okay, let's include the Pancham Purushartha even, because Sarva means Sarva, everything, all inclusive. So yes,
So here, why is tasya Veda kalpa drumasya? Why is that in the genitive case?
because this is in the genitive case, the possessive.
Oh, okay. So it's just glossing that. Okay.
Yeah.
And Tvat in this case means
Upayatvat means Upayatvat is one word which means it
by. Tvat is by.
because it offers the processes, the methods, you can say like that. See, one thing is that to translate Sanskrit exactly into English or even in Hindi is really a challenge.
Yeah, you know.
So means, but still we are trying our best.
Just to have the sense of the word. So now I understand Sarva Purushartha Paya Tvat.
Yeah.
So this means because it offers the methods and the processes to achieve Sarva Purushartha. So that's why it's a Kalpataru. And no.
Then rasam refers to, it's not south.
Wait, but
it's not
Tasya of his. Tasya of.
Tasya of its, no, not his. Like we're referring to the Bhagavatam.
It's.
So, yeah, we can say it's of its, something like that.
And then Deva Kalpa Drumasya. You didn't explain that word.
I did explain, but I'll repeat. Veda Kalpa
Okay.
Drumasya refers to the desired tree of Vedas. That's all.
Deva Kalpa Drumasya.
It's Veda, not Deva, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Veda, sorry. So it's Veda Kalpa and then Druma means?
Druma is tree. Druma is tree.
So it's like a Kalpa. Kalpa means tree and Druma means tree also.
No, Kalpa refers to the desire. I just explained in Kalpa Taru.
Oh, sorry.
Taru, Druma, they are all synonyms. Taru and Druma. Kalpa is the desires and so on.
Acha, and Asya is his.
Drumasya is one word. This Drumasya is one single word.
Tasya here is its.
It's.
Tasya is its. So of the desired tree of the Vedas.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you. Rasam.
So rasam is not the South Indian rasam. So rasam refers to, rasam literally is mellow or juice, something like that. Now tvak ashti adi kathina he ansh rahitam kevala rasarupam. Tvak refers to, we say tvacha. Have you heard that word tvacha?
Mm-mm.
So tvacha,
Touch.
yeah, tvacha refers to the skin. So twak refers to skin, and ashti refers to the seed. Adi refers to and so on. Kathin refers to the hard. Here refers to something rejectable, which is rejectable. Ansha refers to apart. Rahitam refers to devoid of. So a fruit, so Srimad Bhagavatam is a fruit which is devoid of all the all the rejectable anshas, the parts, like there is no skin in this fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam. There is no seed in this Srimad Bhagavatam. It's only rasa rupam, kevala rasa rupam. It's only purely rasa, juice, mellow, and there are no impurities or there are no extra rejectable things. So generally in the fruits, normally we eat, consume, there are skin, seeds, and so on, which we have to peel off, and then we
Yeah,
consume.
like Jyotish Kalpa Siksha, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, like all this would be this type of technicalities.
Means in this case, the acharyas comment that now the tvak and ashti refers to the karma, jnana, yoga, and so on. In this
Mm,
case,
mm.
so like that. So generally, the fruits we eat here, we peel off the rejectables and then we eat what's remaining. And generally, especially in India, I don't know about outsides, the fruits we get here, when we peel off the skin, the seed, the the eatable remains only 20 or 30% of the whole fruit. I'm generally speaking.
Yeah, the when Mahaprabhu made the mango tree miraculously, that was one thing that was said, that those
Yeah.
mangoes were like that, no pit and no peel.
So, but the Srimad Bhagavatam is a fruit where it's only pulp, it's only rasa and nothing else. So it's like 100% consumable. So that is Kevala Rasarupam. It's only Rasarupa, the form of mellow juice rasa only. Bhagavatam Tan Namakam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, by the name of Bhagavat, Tat means Tat Namakam refers to by the name, by the name of Bhagavatam. Phalam, Phalam refers to the fruit. Alayam refers to. In this case, Alayam refers to exceed.
Emporium?
No. In this case, it's exceeding liberation.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Alayam generally refers to an abode, a nidhana, like Vidyalaya and so on. But in this case, Alayam is differently defined, exceeding liberation, moksha. So moksha anandam abhivyapya. So the happiness derived from Srimad Bhagavatam, abhivyapya refers to which overcomes, which exceeds abhivyapya, the bliss, ananda, born of the liberation. So that is the meaning of alayam.
Alayam, but alayam also means an abode, no?
Yeah, that's another meaning, but in this case, it's
Another meaning.
exceeding liberation. What's
Yeah.
exceeding liberation? Exceeding the happiness derived from being liberated. Such happiness is derived from Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why pibata, drink. Pibata is like drink. Parama adarena sevadvam. With all due respects, we should serve Srimad Bhagavatam. Parama adarena, with all due respects, and sevadvam refers to serve, seva, do the seva. And how do we do the seva? By hearing, by chanting it, giving the message, preaching it to others, and so on, applying it. Paramadarena.
Dhadam means?
Sevadvam is one word.
Okay. Sevadham, to do seva.
Okay, so the full meaning is, O Rasikas, O Bhavukas, this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is, so this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is attached or conjoined with the substance of Amrita, which is the supreme bliss, or which is full of supreme bliss, has descended on its own accord on planet Earth through the chain of disciplic succession via the guru disciple generations, relationships, beginning from the disciple of Vyasadeva, who is Shukadev Goswami, from his mouth. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the fruit which is devoid of the rejectables like the skin and so on, and it is the fruit of the desired tree, a tree which could offer the means to attain all kinds of purusharthas, the goals of human life. Such Srimad Bhagavatam exceeds the happiness derived from all sorts of liberation, and thus we should, with all due respects, serve Srimad Bhagavatam by, in various ways. So that's the full translation of this verse. Is that okay, Ramaprabhu Prabhu? You asked for that.
Yes, Prabhu, very much.
Beautiful.
So is that clear to everyone? Mahaprema Mataji and Lisa Mataji and Akrura Prabhu is with us actively.
Yes,
I have
Prabhu.
been here.
Rukmini Mataji. So yes, Pibata, drink, and drink. So it would be good if, means now because we are studying, if you can prepare, the word to word in your own ways for your own references, would be good. Bhagavat Arth Aswadana, they say. We will do the Arth Aswadana of Bhagavatam. So we'll stop here for today, and I wanted to do one more, but my health is not good today, but still I just did the class because it's just twice a week and I really like to be with all of you. So
Thank you, Prabhuji.
it's not
That
just
is so kind of
it's not just exaggeration, to be frank. I really like to be with the students because I also feel like a student when I study and teach, and it just refreshes my own thing while I discuss the points. So thank you all for giving this opportunity. I'll say
thank
like
you so much, and also hope you feel better, Prabhu.
that. Yeah, actually, I don't know. I was
Prabhuji,
working on some book today, and suddenly something I